Well, we hear a lot about the rising cost of the gas pump, but it's also happening with a kind of fuel that you put in your own body. We're talking about coffee, very important.
CBS 21's Jamie Myers with the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom to explain how small business owners are handling these price hikes.
For more than 10 years, Jeff Smith has been brewing his business at St. Thomas Roasters.
I love being a small business owner. That's the key. I don't have to answer to the corporate world. All I have to answer to is my customers.
Jeff says it's simply supply and demand when it comes to rising prices. Coffee is growing in popularity in countries like China, India, and Brazil. But bad weather and poor crops have decreased what's available, and it's affecting all types of coffee beans. That means you'll see increases whether you buy it at the grocery store, a national chain, or an independent shop. Some companies have raised prices by more than 50%. Jeff says so far he's gotten away with only modest increases. There is a reason why you might be paying a little bit more, and we're not just talking about the ambiance. There are two different kinds of beans. Robusto, which is typically used in your Maxwell or Folgers, but the other kind of bean is called Arabica, which is what you'll find at a coffee shop, which has more flavor.
We have beans from all over the world, so individual beans may be affected. There's a couple that I haven't been able to get. We're seeing optimistic signs.
Jeff says one reason to be optimistic is loyalty from customers who trim their budgets in other ways.
The nice thing about coffee and just about our environment here, it's kind of an affordable luxury. It's not a big ticket item.
With the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom, Jamie Myers, CBS 21 News.
Well, he tried to slap a
Live from your station for breaking news, this is CBS 21 News This Morning.
The next time you reach for a cup of coffee, you're probably going to end up spending a little bit more for it. Coming up, we'll explain why these beans are costing so much more.
New this morning, it's considered the world's second most valuable commodity, and if you reach for it this morning, you're probably paying a little bit more. CBS 21's Jamie Myers is live at the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom in Lower Paxton Township. And Jamie, what's happening with coffee prices?
Good morning, Jenny. Well, unfortunately, like a lot of things, they are going up. So we're joined this morning by Jeff Smith, who is the owner of St. Thomas Roasters. So tell us a little bit about what you're seeing with supply and demand and what that ends up meaning for consumers and how much they're paying for their coffee.
Well, in the last few months, coffee prices have been at a 34-year high. Obviously, that makes it tougher on us, but there's a growth in some emerging markets like India, China, Brazil. So they are creating more demand in the world. And at the same time, some of the supply has been dwindling in some of the major coffee producing countries. So that stuff comes together and really hurts us domestically in the U.S. as far as trying to keep coffee in stock and give the customers what they're used to getting, that real good cup of coffee in the morning.
And with that, getting that good cup of coffee, what are we seeing as far as demand? You mentioned that some of the other smaller countries are emerging, but what about here in the United States?
Well, there's been several countries that we haven't been able to get access to in recent months. People are used to their certain type of bean that they like. So we have to make substitutes or whatever to keep everybody happy.
All right. Well, makes sense. A lot of people don't like change first thing in the morning. Well, throughout the morning, we're going to be learning a little bit more about the coffee prices, including some of the different kinds of beans. We're live at the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom. Jamie Myers, CBS 21 News.
Staple that starts many people's mornings, coffee. But are you draining your wallet as you empty that pot of joe? That's still ahead in a live report. New this morning, it's considered the world's second most valuable commodity, and if you reach for it this morning, you're probably paying a little bit more. CBS 21's Jamie Myers is live at the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom in Lower Paxton Township. Jamie, what's happening with coffee prices?
Good morning, Jenny. Well, you mentioned people all across the world are drinking coffee, and that's certainly a big part of what's happening to the prices as more countries are turning to coffee. So we have with us here, this is Jeff Smith, who's with St. Thomas Roasters, the owner here. So when you hear about people and how popular it's becoming all across the country or all across the world, what does that mean for here in the United States?
Well, because of the issues we talked about, some of the larger brands have had to raise their prices over the last year, 30-something, as much as 56%. Fortunately, we're trying to hold fast. We've had a modest increase recently, but we don't have the board of directors or the overhead or the dividends to pay that some of the bigger outfits have to deal with.
So it seems like it's impacting both the type of places like this as well as just the over-the-counter stuff that you get in the grocery store.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah.
And so for someone who maybe is interested in just getting to know a little bit more about coffee and getting started with something like that, like what's a good way to get involved and to try something? Like what do you recommend people give a try if they're going to come into a nice place like this?
Well, a nice mild blend like a Guatemala or a Tanzanian pea berry are very popular.
Okay.
We don't recommend going straight to the double espresso,
Right.
or you'll never drink it. But you got to build yourself up to the strong stuff.
All right. Well, that is something we are going to be talking about in the next half hour. Some of the different varieties that are out there, and as well what it means for the coffee prices. We're live at the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom. Jamie Myers, CBS 21 News. A lot of people will be reaching for a cup of coffee this morning, and coming up, we'll show you a little bit of behind the scenes of what goes into the roasting process.
New this morning, it's considered the world's second most valuable commodity, and if you reach for it this morning, you're probably paying a little bit more. CBS 21's Jamie Myers is live at the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom in Lower Paxton Township. Jamie, can you tell us a little bit more about what happens behind the scenes before we get our cup of joe?
Good morning, Jenny. Well, that's what we're learning about this morning and some of the different things that goes into getting that great cup of coffee for you. So this morning we're joined by Jeff Smith, who's the owner of St. Thomas Roasters. All right, so let's start with the thing that I've just found interesting about the different types of beans. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, every bean is unique. All the beans are from different countries, and every country has their own climate, the soil, all that stuff is what makes up the difference between a bean from one country versus another.
All right, so here you have some examples for us to show us. So what are some of the different things here? And what I find so interesting is the different color that happens with the roasting process.
Well, I just did a batch of Costa Rica during the last break. Okay. And that was the bean, the raw bean that we did. Okay. And now it is a roasted product that you can consume.
Yeah, a little different.
And basically each bag here is from a different country. So we have Colombian, we have a Guatemalan here, there's some decaf beans, so they're all just a little bit different.
And are you able to tell, like looking at these, if you didn't see the outside, like do you know that you can identify the different ones?
To an extent, some are a little more unique looking. Some of them look a lot alike, but there are some that have their distinctive features, yes.
All right, well, I guess that makes sense of having the distinctive different kinds of coffees. And coming up throughout the next half hour, we are going to be talking a little bit more about what we've seen with price increases throughout the area. We're live with the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom. Jamie Myers, CBS 21 News.
Well, it's a staple that starts many people's mornings, coffee. But are you draining your wallet as you empty that pot of joe? That's still ahead in a live report.
Coffee prices are going up all over the world, but coming up, we'll talk about what it means here in Central PA, how much you'll be spending.
New this morning, it's considered the world's second most valuable commodity, and if you reach for it this morning, you're probably paying a little bit more. CBS 21's Jamie Myers is live at the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom in Lower Paxton Township. Jamie, what's happening with coffee prices?
Good morning, Jenny. Well, unfortunately, the prices are going up, but it's really a variety. So we're joined this morning by Jeff Smith, who's the owner of St. Thomas Roasters. So for someone here in Central PA with the different kinds of coffees, what are they seeing as far as price increases, and what can we expect in the future?
Well, I think they would see a lot of the national brands have had to raise their prices for bagged coffee over the last year. So when you go in the grocery store, you're probably seeing an increase in the price of what you're paying there. And drink prices are following behind that. We're seeing increases there as well.
All right. So that's even drink prices you're talking about coming to a place like your shop.
Yes. And we've been trying, again, we don't have, being independent, we've been trying to keep our increases at a minimum, and so far we've been able to do that.
What do you find from consumers with so many people cutting back on spending? What kind of feedback do you get from them about what they're willing to pay for with their coffee?
Well, I'm still seeing our loyal customer base coming in here. Again, we talk about the affordable luxury of coffee, where they're able to come in here and indulge for a few minutes. The people that come here appreciate a good quality cup of coffee, so they're still coming for that.
All right. And you say an affordable luxury. I consider the caffeine more of a necessity, but whatever works. All right. So unfortunately, yeah, you can expect to see some increases the next time you head out to the store to pick up coffee or to shop. We're live at the Dauphin County Mobile Newsroom. Jamie Myers, CBS 21 News.
Your money and how simply waking up in the morning may be affecting your wallet. A growing demand for coffee and supply shortages led to rising coffee prices earlier this year. Now, as News 8's Dauphin County reporter Portia Johnson shows us part of that picnic.
St. Thomas Roasters on Linglestown Road is Larry Boyer's second home.
I come here anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week, usually in the late morning, and I stay probably an hour and a half.
But lately, the shop has been out of Guatemala and Sumatra coffee beans. They both are customer favorites.
It's a very good tasting coffee.
The owner, Jeff Smith, says his supplier has been out of the two brands of coffee beans for more than a month. The supply has been affected by weather conditions in several coffee-producing countries, and that's affected the price of coffee here.
We've tried to keep ours under control, but we had to raise our drink prices a little bit as well.
Jeff says every 2 weeks it's costing him more to get coffee beans. He says now the price is $3.85 a pound, and each sack weighs 150 pounds.
In the 11 years that I've been doing this, the last year is the first time it's really been an issue.
But he says the supply picture may soon be brighter. Recently, he was able to order all 15 brands of coffee beans. It's a sign that he may be able to drop his prices, but not anytime soon.
I don't know what's going to come in the next 6 months to a year, so I don't want to make any drastic changes until we see some consistency.
Good thing his customers don't mind.
I look past the price. It's one of the things I splurge on.
In Dauphin County, Portia Johnson, News 8.
Listen to this. Coffee is so popular, it is the world's second most traded commodity. Only oil is worth more on world markets.
Prices at the pump may have risen. You may have also noticed that other fuel a lot of us keep us going is also on the increase. Yeah, we're talking about the price of coffee. It is almost at an all-time high. In tonight's Consumer News, Fox 43's Eric Gemmel visits one local coffee roaster who is dealing with the rising cost of that cup of joe.
Coffee is one of the most popular drinks in the world, but did you know that the price of coffee beans is literally going through the roof? Java Joe, morning fuel, coffee, whatever you want to call it. That one similarity here is that morning kick is costing more. Compared to last year, the price of whole bean coffee like this is up nearly 38% from last year. And it's on the mark to outpace the world's most valued asset, oil. Here at St. Thomas Roasters in Linglestown, they've been roasting coffee for 12 years now. Since the beginning of this year, the price of coffee has steadily gone up. But the folks here are doing their very best to keep prices steady so it doesn't cause too much pain for their customers.
We've had some modest price increases in the last year.
Smith says the spike in whole bean coffee stems from everything to extreme weather to the rising cost of fuel.
It affects me a little. I wouldn't say it's too bad yet. I can still, price range, I can afford it, so I still drink it all the time.
And that's good news.
Especially ones who know what kind of coffee they like will not stop coming just because we've raised our prices.
But when it boils down to it,
it also affects our tips because people don't want to shell out more money for us.
And while the tip jar may not be as full as it once was, the folks at St. Thomas say they won't for 1 second think about switching a well-roasted, high-quality coffee to something folks may not want at all.
I would go out of business before I went to serving Robusta or a lower quality coffee.
And whether your brand cinnamon sticky bun, coconut, or dark chocolate, Jeff tells us he's trying to keep his price reasonable for all of his customers.
in Lincolnstown, Dauphin County. Eric Immel, Fox 43 News at 10.